Hey, what's up? I'm back with a video based on my update on my fasting with eating a minimum every 72 hours. As you've been following me, sometimes it would hit 48, 50, or 60 something hours, but that's due to taking certain consideration into common sense, meaning that I'd rather still be alive practicing how to eat to live as opposed to dying and then I can't practice it anymore. So there's certain considerations and safety guidelines that one should always consider when practicing how to eat to live. And one of the things that have come up thus far, so what's the date? Today's date is May 3rd. It's Sunday. And I've been practicing one meal every 72 hours, minimum every 72 hours since March 22nd, 2020. Now, the first month was a blast. Going into the second month caused me to come across some things that I really sincerely had to take in consideration. And one thing that fasting does, it helps you to realize and become aware of the different things that become obstacles in foregoing a diet, or rather keeping a discipline in something that you've started and you're excited about. So going forward, coffee. Now, the book, How to Eat to Live, says, Elijah Muhammad says, you can invite coffee and you can invite water, which means that you necessarily don't need it. But you're going to laugh at this one, or some may laugh, or some may say, oh my gosh. Well, coffee was introduced to me at the age of 5. My grandmother didn't give it to me as strong as an adult would have it. But you know, when you're 5 and you're hanging out with grandma, and you're at grandma's friend house, and y'all hanging out, they're having coffee. She made us some coffee, and then I was hooked. She got a little cream, a little sugar, but it was a little bit less of coffee. But since the age of 5, I've been drinking coffee. So coffee was not invited in my fast. Coffee was naturally a part of my fast to help me get past 48, 72, 96 hours, or whatever length of time that I choose to go for them, right? So I just want to say that in the past week, in the past 3 days, I've been really drinking the last little bits of my coffee. And whoever has been following me for like the last 2 years probably remember when I said that I was going to fast from coffee and get rid of it. Well, I tried then and it was hell. So one of the things that happens when I start to get rid of coffee is that I get a major headache. And you're going to laugh at this too, because this is why I mentioned in previous videos that I don't downplay anyone. I never do, because we all have our fix and we all have our vices, right? So I like Cafe Bustelo, and then one serving, there's about 75 to 150 grams of caffeine. There's no telling how many scoops I was doing for one cup. So I'm gonna leave it at that. So I had a headache these past couple of hours. That was dreadful. Anytime I'd move, man, it was like it was paralyzing. You know, paralyzing headache, where it's the one that when you sit down, you don't feel it, but as soon as you start to move, you feel it and you get weak, and it starts to just like, travel from your head down your neck into your shoulders or your chest or your back. But it's one of those headaches where you know where it's coming from. It's called a withdrawal. So I'm withdrawing from caffeine. Well, not necessarily caffeine, but the coffee intake, because I still drink caffeine. I still drink Red Bull. I still drink other energy stuff for workouts, stuff like that. But when it comes to the fasting per se, to go in a dry manner, man, to not drink coffee is a beast. That's a different beast. So I'm trying to master how to eat to live. And I'm trying to master one meal every 72 hours. So the fast has allowed me to see that coffee is my obstacle. Now, coffee is good for you, but in the way I was doing it, coffee was like, let's just say coffee is my fix. Now, so now what have I gained in the past couple of weeks eating every 72 hours? 1, my sleep is magnificent. 2, I have more time on my hands. 3, I feel so much more lighter. Yes, so much more lighter. And if you saw one of my posts previous to this post where I'm flexing, that is the very first time in a very long time that I was able to complete 80 push-ups a set. 80 push-ups a set, clean, every set consistent with a numerous amount of other exercises along in the training session. That is big, and especially coming from an injury, sports injury, to come back stronger and be able to do that under a matter of eating one meal every 72 hours has not only led me to see or to experience, but to be an example that you can come back from a sports injury stronger. Now, has the fasting contribute to that? Absolutely. If you have been following, you've noticed that different times of when the body is, different time frames when the body is fasting, it goes through different stages: fat burning, ketosis, heavy, whatever the case is, growth hormones, cells recycling, and it can do that on coffee and water as well. The coffee just may speed it up a little bit, but as Hadi Talib says, a fast is not a fast unless it's 48 hours. So a fast is not a fast unless it's 48 hours, only consuming, with the key word, inviting water or coffee. So we have to build ourselves up, okay, in stages and gradually based on your lifestyle. So going forward, I just want to share that with you. Definitely, much more healthier, and my heart rate it stays between 48 and 52. And why am I stating that? I'm stating that I am not putting myself on a pedestal or whatever the case is, because there are people like Lance Armstrong. I heard he had a resting heart rate of 30. So there are different stages of health is concerned. So going forward, I have these books here in front of me. So real quick, I'm just going to go over another different topics. Enough about me. It's just that when it comes to these certain things, why I almost forgot. I have it right here. Why did I bring up caffeine? So in the Olympics, certain things like caffeine, Advil, Tylenol, of course, performance enhancement or anything of that nature, anything that numbs pain or can pick up speed or whatever the case is, or performance, is banned. So if you have somebody on your team, on your training team, that knows how to work the jigsaw puzzle of nutrition, then you can perform like a beast, like a monster, like a god in what you do. And that's for sports that don't test at all. Or if you're a computer analyst or a nurse or a doctor or a lawyer, they're not testing for caffeine or Advil or Tylenol or growth hormones that's been prescribed by your doctor. You can become a monster in that field. But now, where am I going with this? So Hadi Talib says it takes 36 hours for one meal of the nutrients to be distributed throughout the entire system. I have another book on the floor that says Nutrient Timing System. A guy written about with a PhD, he says, if you have more than enough vitamins of one particular vitamin in your system, it, meaning you, can become toxic. Now, listen to what I just said. Everybody's taking their vitamins every day. Everyone's doing this. Everyone is doing that. But the death rate is still so high, yet so low. Blacks, 65 to 75, which is down to like 50 to 65. Whites, 75 to 90, which that is going down. I mean, in certain cases, it's going up, but the majority, it's going down. So I came across certain things, right? I'm going to turn to this page speaking on that. I'm not going to take long. Bear with me. Being sedentary can be hazardous to your health. What is sedentary? Sedentary is no sports, no training. Inactivity and poor diet cause at least 300,000 deaths a year in the United States of America. And how to eat to live? He says people who are sedentary don't need carbs, and that you can actually eat one meal every 48 hours. So So what's happening in the United States of America is that we're at the baby stage of nutrition. So Elijah Muhammad, this book was transcribed in 1942, right? 1942, right, when he was teaching, is that he said, be careful of the people that come, the nutritionists that come up in the future. But in this book, he explains everything in detail, all questions answered. So when we're eating multiple times out of the day, you're actually adding poison to yourself. Now, if you're in a specific sport that requires you to eat, that is different. Okay? But at the same time, he also says that you should take a fast every month or every other month for 3 days. And if you're strong enough, go 9 or go 72. Because you want to give your digestive system a break and you want your stomach to regain its strength. For your stomach is the only organ that you cannot replace. So back to sedentary people, adults who are less active are at a greater risk of dying of heart disease and developing diabetes, colon cancer, and high blood pressure. So if you're sedentary, which means that you could be standing, you could be a beautician, am I right? Or someone who does nails or whatever the case is. If you're not doing sports or any form of training to burn that excess energy off, those micronutrients and macronutrients off, you're going to develop disease. Okay? So we're going forward. So this is something else I was looking at. Okay, this is something else. I think it was here. Was it here? Oh, yes. Now, fitness testing. So it's May, what is it? It's May 3rd, and I have 2 people under my training system that I said I was going to start May 1st, and it's going pretty well. They're like, whoa. I'm like, yeah. So fitness testing. Why is it important to fitness test? Because fitness testing can be based off of in many ways. Fitness testing can be based off of basic calisthenic tests every month, or people who compete. Some people who compete, they compete to win. Some people who compete, like me, I enjoy it. Some people who compete, they compete because they want to see where they're at. So there's different levels of, testing yourself. So it's very good to always do something to measure where you're going, where you are, and where you were before. Now, if you don't know how to progress, now here's where the nutrition comes in. If you don't give your digestive system a break from processing nutrients on all different levels, your organs will not be able to perform at the level that you would like them to because toxins are settled in. That's all I'm saying. The other thing is, and one more thing. Bear with me. Training. Now, here's one thing where personal trainers, where we tend to shy away, from people who always want to train hard. We get it. But there's a difference between training hard and knowing when to train hard, especially when you're training for something. But if you're not consistent in your training, and I'm going to say this, if you're not consistent with your nutrition, if you're not consistent with what the trainer is telling you, as far as homework is concerned, trainers who care will start to shy away from doing and giving you certain things because you're not doing your homework. So there's a perceived exertion during exercise. Very, very light, fairly light, somewhat hard, very hard, very, very hard. Now, what's the deal with that? These are different levels of training that you should be doing. So let's say, for an example, a bodybuilder, this is not all bodybuilders, but a bodybuilder would go in one day and feel excellent, right? Let's say that bodybuilder feels excellent, or that person feels excellent. Well, remove the title bodybuilder. Let's just say athlete goes in there and feels excellent, and they're in there and they're going hard. Now, let's say the trainer told them just go 30 minutes, and that client leaves, that athlete leaves in 30 minutes. But they're like, whoa, I could do more. And they and they leave at 30 minutes. But they have much more cellular energy to perform the next day. The next day they can go fairly light or very hard or very, very light for 20 minutes. So what is this doing? This is allowing the athlete to perform and practice on technique, to strategically come up in the game, whether it takes days, months, weeks, or years, so that you can fine-tune the instrument of the human body. Now, if you're going hard all the time, and you're going hard all the time, I mean, that's sincerely beautiful. People will die to win. But then after you've been winning and your career is over, you probably have a broken body. Who wants that? I don't want that. Well, I'm sure a lot of people don't want that. So what course would you rather take? Fairly light, somewhat hard, one day very hard, one day very, very light, one day very light. Now, what does that look like? You go in one day, you lift hard. You go in the next day, you fine-tune certain muscles that you normally don't see developed, and you leave. You go back in, you say, all right, you know what, I'm going to do this for like 15 to 20 minutes, and you leave. And you go back, and you leave. And you start to strategically work your way through the jigsaw training. But if your nutrition sucks, all of that at the very end, when it's time to perform at the highest level, it won't be accounted for. Now, you know what, I'm going to ask the other one with the glutamine. I always do this. I know why I didn't put anything there. So glutamine is the other one. Glutamine makes up 60% of 60% of our glutamine is found in the skeletal muscle, with the remainder residing in the lung, liver, brain, and stomach tissue. More than 60% of our free amino acids come in the form of glutamine, and under normal conditions, our bodies are able to produce more than enough to handle the load. But during times of stress, glutamine reserves are depleted and need to be replenished through supplementation. Research is showing that glutamine depletion caused by stress can be activated by something as minor as a common cold, and the level of depletion increases with the severity of the disease. Patients undergoing surgery, burn victims, those suffering acute trauma, as well as HIV and cancer patients will all find their glutamine levels severely depleted by their conditions. As fitness enthusiasts, the important thing to remember is that stress-related glutamine depletion does not only occur with illness, but due to stress caused by exercise. Intensive exercise will disrupt immune function, increase lactic acid and ammonium levels. High levels of ammonia can affect muscle function within the first 5 minutes of exercise. Glutamine levels rise and catabolic hormones are released. At the conclusion of the exercise session, the muscles will continue to release glutamine, causing a severe depletion situation. And the harder you train, the higher the rates of depletion. This is why us trainers who are very profound in what we know when it comes to behind the scenes of training and exercise, we tell you to stretch, we tell you to relax, we tell you to do this, we tell you to do that, but you have to realize the course in which you want to go. Now, there are a lot of people above a certain age that think they know it all. That's cool. But I'm talking to the ones who rather want to change and have the whole open their minds to opportunity to learning to bring their bodies back to 100%, to perform at a higher rate. So if you have not been taking certain nutrients for a certain amount of years, you will, as the book says, if you're open up to changing, this is why you take on somebody who understands profoundly how to move and guide you appropriately. It will take time. Stop looking for instant gratification. Gold standard.